Party's over. Tell the rest of the crew. Islam, Morris. Islam. Perfect timing. Don't sit down yet.
Yeah, you know what happened? The lady's fucking up next week, but she's on. I know, bro. Trust me. One day, because Cujo was waiting. You know what? Cujo's been waiting for the oven. He's been waiting for the oven, bro. So he can have them all hot and shit with the tamarind sauce.
Little sauce? Oh, God.
The sauce is ready.
5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. Through his holy prophet. Noble Juali. Islam, Morris. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Juali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Juali. Islam. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years, Prophet Noble Juali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam, this is the instruction from your Prophet Noble Juali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you would be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Juali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but would sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah would bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Juali. Islam. So we have 25th of September. We're looking to do our autumn equinox event. I think we're looking at probably Hamilton for that as of right now. So our usual, go out there and give our honors to the gates, so that we could carry on with the great work that we're doing. Today, we're just going to be going through the Quran chapter, Know Thyself. I don't know if you had any questions or anything as of right now, any stuff that you wanted to bring up, or anybody else, if you have any questions or comments, you could put those up right now. So we're looking at chapter 36, Holy Instructions from the Prophet, Know Thyself. This is actually coming up because I got there's probably maybe the past month, we noticed that there's been a lot being revealed. There's a lot being revealed with regard to individuals who are taking the opportunist approach with regard to the movement, with regard to the information. It's not anything new, but stuff is coming out as far as individuals who are in question with regard to this opportunist activity. The most recent being the consular court people, that we got their Zoom class, and in their Zoom class, they're telling people $4,000 to $5,000 or $5,000 to $7,000 for mortgage paperwork or whatever. Now, when we always stick to the program that RV Bay Publications is the online university, and then if you notice, everybody's a university right now too. Everybody has some university something right now, right? This is the thing. Attach university to their name, group, or whatever, so that it appears like that's where you go to learn, right? Keep in mind the ancestral customs that when we said we're going to go to university to go learn, it's a 30-year, 40-year learning experience. You're not going there in some 2 years and then you're addict or whatever. When you go to the ancient learning centers, first of all, you had to get approved to go to them, right? And then on top of getting approved to go to them, you have to do your full time frame there. So once you get approved, you're going for 30, 40 years off the top. And we're realizing that individuals are coming into this information and they just want to do a 2 years. They just want to do a 4 years of study. They just want to study for a year. They just want to watch 2 videos and think that they have the thing figured out. And that is why the opportunists are are able to amass thousands from individuals, because majority of these individuals, they really don't know their self. And a lot of these individuals who are coming into this information, they really don't know Noble Drew Ali. They really don't know what Noble Drew Ali brought. They really don't know Noble Drew Ali's literature, don't know from the sense of studying it or whatever like that. But because they don't know Noble Drew Ali, they don't know the literature, right? Because the opportunists are not putting that out there like that. Because Drew Ali made reference to certain things that is supposed to get you clear in your mind as to who's sincere and who's a criminal, who's honest, who's dishonest, who's righteous, who's unholy. This is just in his literature. There's supposed to be this revelation, you know, of who to go to, who to trust, whatever. And it amazes me the level of neglect that people have toward studying. Like the how somebody can say $5,000 for something and then somebody pay is I don't get, especially when, again, you know, we have RV Bay publications that majority of the people who are selling something, RV Bay Publications has an alternative, whether it's a book, whether it's a spot on the site or whatever the case is, there's something there for you to go and learn this stuff for free, not even paying yet. And even if you are paying 5 to 15 notes for a book, that's nothing compared to $1,200 for a package, $1,500 for a package, $2,000, $5,000, $7,000 when the things on there are for free. So we're gonna be looking at the chapter Know Thyself today, and going into it a little bit so that we can recognize that the importance of just that, the idea of know thyself. Even Drew Ali telling us first thing, you know thyself and Allah. That's the prerequisite to Moorish nationality, is to know ourselves, right? So we're looking at again chapter 36, Holy Instructions from the Prophet, Know Thyself, Islam. Weak and ignorant as thou art, O man, humble as thou ought to be, O child of the dust, would thou raise thy thoughts to infinite wisdom? Wouldn't thou see omnipotence displayed before thee? Contemplate thy frame. And then we'll just go through this verse by verse. So one of the first things we want to impart again is anytime we have some type of divine, holy, whatever literature, it's of utmost importance that we have our metaphysical Bible dictionary, so that we can always get the broader perspective of what's being expressed. Peace and words. Right? A lot of times we get lost in just learning the mundane. We get lost in just read a book from the cover to the cover and then you know something. right? When we first came into the information and we said study, there's at least 6 books around you at a time. When you say, I'm going to go study, whatever it is, you're going to have your etymology dictionaries, you're going to have your law dictionaries, you're going to have your unabridged dictionaries, and then you're going to have whatever the reading material is, whatever the book is, whatever the subject matter is. And in every instance of a paragraph, let's say, few paragraphs, you're stopping because nobody knows it all. So we're going to be looking at what certain things mean, right? And then you're looking it up in these different dictionaries so that you can be clear as to what it is that things mean, right? So when we're doing our our divine instructions study, one of the books that we need, and if you don't have it, make sure you go out and get it, the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, because everything has to be understood from a metaphysical perspective in order for it to completely be part of you. It has to be understood from behind the veil in order for it to actually resonate with you, so that you can take whatever it is that you learn and do something with it. Going back again to this thing of people who come into this information but aren't given Noble Drew Ali, aren't given his literature, and then they're not looking at it from the big perspective. They're looking at it as cover to cover. Oh, well, 101 questionnaire. Oh, well, that's just cover to cover. We got the question, the answers. We could read that in 2 seconds. Oh, Quran. Oh, that's 60 pages. Oh, that's nothing. We could read that in no time. Whatever the literature is, right? But these are encyclopedias. These are reference points that's supposed to broaden your study. It's not just what's written there, because if you just go by what's written there, then you're not going to get the fullness of what's being told. So there's a few words in here that I highlighted that we're going to be checking out the metaphysical meaning of, and then going back again to see what really this means. Chapter 37, Holy Instructions from the Prophet, Know Thyself. So the first thing is wisdom. And you could go to, if you don't have the book, you can go to truthunity.net, and that's where Charles Fillmore, who put out the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, they have these group of Christians who are into the metaphysical information. So they put out the truthunity.net so that all the metaphysical stuff could be accessible to everybody. So you would just Google search or whatever, metaphysical meaning of whatever the word is, and then truthunity.net would tell you metaphysical meaning of whatever the word, and then you click that link, it pulls you directly to the page. So metaphysical meaning of wisdom. Wisdom, intuitive knowing, spiritual intuition, the voice of God within as the source of our understanding, mental action based on the Christ truth within. Wisdom includes judgment, discrimination, intuition, and all the departments of mind that come under the head of knowing. This knowing capacity transcends intellectual knowledge, Spiritual discernment always places wisdom above the other faculties of the mind and reveals that knowledge and intelligence are auxiliary to understanding. Wisdom and divine understanding. These attributes come from the Spirit of Christ within us. The price that we must pay for the conscious attainment of divine wisdom and understanding is the letting go of the personal self with its limited beliefs. Paul saw the Christ waiting at the door of every soul when he wrote, "Awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall shine upon thee." Worldly wisdom. Wisdom is the ability to use knowledge. Worldly wisdom is knowledge of worldly things with ability to use them. Right? So, O child of the dust, wouldst thou raise thy thoughts to infinite wisdom? Would thy raise thy thoughts to intuition, to letting the God within speak, opposed to some external thing inspiring you? When we're talking about wisdom. So when they say, somebody says, they're wise, and they start rambling off of scriptures and books and whatever else that they're using to prove their wisdom, but there ain't no intuition there. They're not inspired by within to reveal what needs to be revealed. They're probably not that wise. More than likely, they're opportunists. It's just like when people get these messages. You ever be on Instagram or whatever, and then you get a message from some guru or whatever like that. Oh yeah, I felt your energy is off and all that stuff, and you could get your energy right if you click on this link or whatever like that, or some BS, right? You already know that that's a bot. You already know that that's somebody out there trying some stuff. They might have even sabotaged somebody else's page who's a astrologer or whatever like that, and they're using them to try to get to you, to get you to give them some whatever, finance, energy, whatever the case is, right? Wouldst thou see omnipotence displayed before thee? Right, metaphysical meaning. Omnipotence, infinite power. God is infinite power. All the power there is, all powerful. So again, we're talking about infinite wisdom is within. We're talking about the omnipotence displayed before thee. The power, or the infinite power, or the all-powerful being displayed before you is proof of you being that. Because everything is a reflection. So if you look out there and you see greatness, that's a reflection of yourself. That's greatness reflecting back at you so you can see your greatness, right? Or if we say, for example, you see a butterfly coming out the cocoon, that's you evolving. It's not the butterfly evolving, even though it's evolving, but that's actually you evolving. That's you getting out of your cocoon. Matter of fact, more than likely, whatever that great thing is that you see happening, that omnipotent thing that you see happening outside of yourself, more than likely, it's only being reflected to you because 2 days ago, 3 days ago, a week ago, or whatever like that, some type of situation happened where this stuff is being revealed to you right now to make a point, to show you something, to let it be known to you, whether you're on the right path or you're on the wrong path, or that individual was the right individual, or that decision that you made was the right decision. Once it's all knowing and you recognize it, know that is for you. It's just like they say with the people who have certain experiences. The experience is for the experiencer. The experience isn't for me to experience it and then me go around and tell everybody about my experience or whatever, because it wasn't for them. It was for the individual who actually experienced it. And if any other, because again, once we go back to wisdom and we're talking about the intuitive powers of man, if anything comes to you, make sure you put it out so that you could activate the intuition, right? Because we have to like when Drew Ali made the reference that man and Allah are one, that's with everything. If Allah is the all and man and Allah are one, then that means it's one with everything, right? One with thoughts, one with words, one with deeds, one with everything. All right. So make sure that when that intuition hits you, that you express it. No different than you're engaged in conversation with somebody and you think of something and then you don't say it, and then they say it and they say, oh yeah, I was just thinking that, or whatever. Well, you should have said it. That was the whole point of the thought working through you, for you to say it, so that other individual could say, oh, I was just thinking that, not you saying it. Right? Contemplate thine frame. Contemplation, a form of meditation, a thought of becoming a child of God. Right? So when again, this is in the Holy Book. How many Moors say they honor Noble Drew Ali and don't meditate? Don't contemplate thy frame. Because it's in the literature that we should contemplate. And if contemplation is a form of meditation, and again, meditation isn't, Om and all that stuff, right? Meditation, again, one with everything. Meditation is what it is to you. Meditation might be, hallucinogens. And then you contemplate your frame. Meditation might be hearing water flowing in a stream. And then you contemplate your frame. Hearing birds in the morning, whatever. You contemplate your frame, right? Certain aroma might tap you in to contemplating, right? So when the idea of meditation comes up, don't get caught up in those things that we see when people say meditation, and then they're the gurus of the meditative whatever practices or whatever, right? Those are forms of it, but there are different forms of contemplation. This is why they're making reference to it's a form. Contemplation is a form of meditation, right? Now they always give you when you do the online, they always give you words. They always give you words highlighted that you could click those words, and then that'll give you a deeper metaphysical meaning. So when we click meditation, it says continuous and contemplative thought to dwell mentally on anything, realizing the reality of the absolute, a steady effort of the mind to know God, man's spiritual approach to God. The purpose of meditation is to expand the consciousness Christward, to bring into realization divine truth, to be transformed in spirit, soul, and body by the renewing of the mind. Right? So to bring into realization the divine truth, and then Drew Ali telling Morris he wants Morris to know the truth and the divine truth, which is going right back again to meditation again, and the idea that there's a reality there. There's a reality of the absolute. Once you acknowledge through yourself that there's an absolute. And the only way you're connecting with the absolute is through spirit, which we know spirit is breath, and then breath is meditation. And it might not even be. You can go to Dr. Alim for some breathing techniques and stuff like that you could implement just in daily existence at any time. It's not something that you have to be in a quiet place or you can whatever. I was watching they had one of the episodes of Power, one of these shows or whatever. One of these dudes has anger issues. So because he got anger issues, they have him go into some meeting for anger management or whatever like that. So the instructor or whoever was telling him, well, anytime you feel like getting mad or whatever, just breathe, you know what I mean? Just breathe with me or whatever. So they're sitting around and, everybody's doing the breathing. This guy's like, some BS or whatever, and breathing and all that. It's not going to stop nothing. So then he gets into some altercation with some dude and he's about to do something to dude, and then he remembered, hey, breathing, let me just see if this stuff works or whatever. So he starts breathing, and then automatically everything changes, and he's calm, and he's talking to dude calm, dude's ripping him or whatever like that, he's talking calm or whatever like that, and in the end he's like, yeah, I can get used to this or whatever, right? I can get used to this. So it's everywhere. They reveal the things to us in different forms, you know what I mean? Shows and whatever like that. People might look at these things as, fiction. That's just a show. You know what I mean? It's just like this new superhero movie with Sylvester Stallone in there. And there's one part of the movie where he came out and said, oh yeah, I'm a troglodyte. I'm a caveman or whatever like that. I don't got my stuff together, you know what I mean? I'm sorting this stuff out or whatever. But that's just a show to the average individual. To everybody else who is on some type of knowledge, you're hearing somebody say troglodyte in a show like that and it not ring some bells. You know what I mean? Something's they're tapping people into something. Or they're tapping people out of something, right? And if we look at who they used, right? That's Rocky. Yeah, the Rocky is saying he's troglodyte. You probably gotta take that stuff serious or whatever. Yeah, he has a statue and all that. You know what I mean? So it's all part of the revelations, so that we can see that it's all around us and recognize that even though it might be some show or whatever, movie, some twist on reality, that there's still reality there, that the illusion can't exist without reality. The real has to see the illusion for the illusion to be something, right? Any other comments, questions? So verse 2, fearfully and wonderfully art thou made. Praise therefore thy Creator with awe, and rejoice before him with reverence. Fearfully and wonderfully art thou made. Fear, metaphysical meaning of fear. Painful emotion marked by alarm, dread, disquiet. Fear is one of the most subtle and destructive errors that the carnal mind in man experiences. Fear is a paralyzer of mental action. It weakens both mind and body. Fear throws dust in our eyes and hides the mighty spiritual forces that are always with us. Blessed are those who deny ignorance and fear and affirm the presence and power of spirit. Right, going back again to breath again, right? And same situation. You're in some whatever and you're angry. You're gonna breathe. Well, if you're fearful, it's the same remedy. Just breathe. Fear hit you because it's a paralyzer. Paralyzing isn't a benefit to you. I was watching somebody had a video talking about I don't know who it was, talking about paralysis and paralysis being some type of positive thing. Paralysis is not a good thing. You don't want to be paralyzed. You don't want to be in a position where you can't respond. You want to be able to respond, right? And again, with them saying fear is a paralyzer of mental action. Nothing happening if you're fearful, because everything happens in the mind first. So once you're in fear, automatically nothing's gonna happen, which again goes to the paralysis, because it's a mental thing with fear, right? I was thinking about that with the false education appearing real, fear. If you don't have knowledge, just like they're saying, those who are pro-ignorance, those who are pro-fear, more than likely they don't know what's going on. They're absent-minded in what is going on. What's the reality, right? With fear throws dust in our eyes and hides the mighty spiritual forces that are always with us. So if the spiritual forces are always with us, then there should be nothing to fear. There shouldn't be fear at all, because every force. Actually, let's just check what that is. Forces, active, physical or mental forces having the capacity to produce or to create. So these spiritual forces that are always working with us having fear would stop those forces from working. For us, not stop the forces from working. The forces are always working. Our fear is what stops the forces from working for us. But the forces are constantly working. If we're ignorant of the forces still working. They could give a shit about what you assume, think, whatever like that. They don't care. They're going to be doing what it is that they're going to be doing regardless. It's about us tapping into those. And in tapping into those forces that are mental and physical and spiritual, emotional, going all through the senses, us tapping into those forces allows us to be able to control the fear, control the anger, control the emotions, control the things that are being put in place by ourselves to stop us from reaching our full potential. Right?
This Portuguese lady, her daughter, did surgery in the hospital, ended up paralyzing her. And she was paralyzed, right? She didn't walk. She started going to therapy and whatever, and they didn't know any other way. They started doing
research, and then they found out that maybe music, different vibration frequencies, will heal her from bring her back to walking. So when I was doing some repair work at the house, and long story short, the mother was telling me she does every day they do like different sessions of the different frequency vibrations, whatever the music they do like, to get her to walk like slowly, and it helps her. Like, it's been improving. So like the mind, her mind connecting with that, and not having the fear, like you're saying, not having the fear, just believing in that, to get to that.
The right frequency. So if I used to run track, right? And I'd always get anxiety just before the race. It's almost like being afraid, But it's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna put this race, like, but you're so jacked up. You're out of frequency. You're not even running properly. Your breathing is off. So what happens is when you're running, you could get into a meditative state, and you realize that there's a pattern to my breathing and my steps. That's what I should be in. If you're not focused on that, you're all over the place. Chaos going on. There's no
out of breath and all that.
All kinds of energies come in and mess you all up. That's what frequency. Very similar. Same idea. And I think even happiness, if you're too happy, you throws off your frequency. You're not able to think correctly to make that right decision. It's like your body's making the decision instead of your mental or your heart.
Fear, how to overcome. Fear is cast out by perfect love. To know divine love is to be selfless, and to be selfless is to be without fear. The God-conscious person is filled with quietness and confidence. Right? The God-conscious person is filled with quietness and confidence. Going again to the whole thing of being able to conquer the fear, being able to overpower the fear. Confident people are rarely fearful. People who know how to stand on their square are rarely fearful. Most of the time, they overcome whatever obstacles that might present themselves. Fearfully and wonderfully art thou made. Praise therefore thy Creator with awe, and rejoice before him with reverence. Our metaphysical meaning of praise. Praise, the quality of mind that eulogizes the good, one of the avenues through which spirituality expresses. The purpose of praise is to awaken in ourselves a higher realization of the omnipresence and power of God. Prayer and praise change man, not God. The mental attitude that praise sets up stimulates, quickens, whirls into action, and finally establishes in character the ideals of which they are the vehicle. Through an inherent law of mind action, we increase whatever we praise. The whole creation responds to praise and is glad. Animals and children quickly respond to praise. One can praise a weak body into strength, a fearful heart into peace and trust, shattered nerves into poise and power, a failing business into prosperity and success, want and insufficiency into supply and support. We make practical application of the law of praise by giving thanks always for all things, recognizing that to them that love God, all things work together for good. Right? So when Drew Ali said Moorish American prayer, and then we start, Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. That's praise for the all, acknowledging, recognizing it, giving it attention, so that the attention that we put out is going to come back. In the quality of mind, one of the avenues through which spirituality is expressed. So as individuals who were given certain lessons, and we give honors to, Noble Drew Ali for giving us Quran, for giving us literature, for giving us certain things, right? That is so that those things work with us. That is so that we recognize the power in what it is that was given to us, and that power working in our favor. Like we're saying with how 4 years ago you were over at the building over there, right? And then now we're here, which shows that something was in action in order to go from one spot to a different spot that's greater than where we were, right? The little matchbox over there, right? The purpose of praise is to awaken in ourselves a higher realization of the omnipresence and power of God. Prayer and praise change man, not God. Prayer and praise change the individual, not the who you're praying to. Just like the forces, that is what it is. Allah is gonna do what Allah does. What are you gonna do with what Allah gave you? Is what it comes down to. Right? Praise therefore thy Creator with awe, and rejoice before him with reverence. Now, interestingly, the metaphysical Bible doesn't have creator, but it has creation. It doesn't have creator, but it has creation, right? So, being that as we know, God is a transitive verb, then it should be creation. It should be the action of, right? Say they're going hard. They're going hard. Metaphysical meaning of creation. The original plan of an idea in spirit back to the visible universe are both the original creative ideas and those that are brought forth as earthly things. In the creative process, divine mind first ideates itself. In the scriptures, this idea is named Jehovah, meaning I am, the ever-living, he who is eternal. The creation is carried forward through the activity of the Holy Spirit. The order of creation is from the formless to the formed, from the invisible to the visible. This goes on perpetually, and there is never a beginning or an ending to the process. The ideal is continually pouring itself into its creation and lifting it higher and yet higher. Apart from mind, nothing can be done. Man is forming and bringing things into manifestation, uses the same creative process in mind that God uses. First is mind, then the idea in mind, then the materialization of the idea. So first is mind, then the idea in mind, then the materialization of the idea. Right? So even if we look at the trip, look at going from over there to here, look at going from being Negro black color to now being Moors, there was a process of evolution that had to take place. But it all starts with recognizing that there is mind. Now, once you recognize that there is mind, then ideas can happen. And once the ideas happen, then it's only a matter of time before it manifests. But again, if you have all these different mental faculties focused on one thing, the manifestation is going to be faster than one focusing on it, depending on the power of the individuals focusing. Right? First is mind, then the idea in mind, then the materialization of the idea. Praise therefore thy Creator with awe, and rejoice before him with reverence. Metaphysical meaning of reverence. The attitude of reverence is an important feature in developing the Christ consciousness. Without it, the mind loses a certain necessary connection with spirit and lacks the central poise of faith that gives religious tenor in the process. The attitude of reverence is an important feature in developing Christ consciousness. And again, Juali made reference to Christ consciousness as Allah and man are one. Right? That's the ultimate goal of being in the flesh, is making sure that you and Allah are unified. Once you realize that man and Allah are one, now the mind could actually make some things manifest. Until that realization happens, until the union takes place between the higher force and the being, then it's probably going to be torment, judgment, and all the other stuff that you don't want, because we're out of balance. Just like you're saying, that once you're out of the routine, once you're out of the organized chaos, then all you have is chaos, right? Wherefore, of all creatures art thou only erect, but that thou shouldn't behold his works. Wherefore art thou to behold, but that thou mayest admire them? Wherefore to admire, thou may adore their and their Creator? Wherefore is conscious to thee? Metaphysical meaning of consciousness. Something's going on here. We'll carry on with this for now. Is it not in flesh to think? Is it not in bones to reason? The other animals in the kingdom, right? That we were joking about when we were on the trip just with the dogs, and the dogs being they got to sniff everything. Everything their nose has to go in, because that's their super sense. Their hearing, that's their super sense. Their touch is limited because all they got is feet. But their sight, their hearing, their smell is heightened because of what they're lacking in other areas, right? So it's the same thing. It's the same thing with us. Our smell, taste, and all those senses are said to be these senses, but there's senses above those that people in their lifetime probably don't even tap into. And if they do tap into them, it's on some, they're just winging it. You know what I mean? It's not activated that this thing works every time they put it out there. You know what I mean? Our ability to connect with nature is supposed to be a natural thing. Us and nature are supposed to be one, just like us and Allah are one. Right? Us and the universe is supposed to be one. Us and the moon is supposed to be one. Us and the sun is supposed to be one. Us and water is supposed to be one. Right? And again, going back to the thing with the senses. Let me see what this one had in it. I think the same thing that you got. Senses how to develop by declaring ourselves to be spiritual and speaking the increasing word of the I am to every one of them, right? To every one of the senses, speaking, increasing the word of the I am to every one of the senses, we multiply their capacities and give them a sustaining vigor and vitality. This is done through the simple word of I am, backed up by the realization of its spiritual power. So all these different senses having their own spiritual power in them. Going back again to why when certain people are lacking certain senses, the other ones kick in, or the other ones get heightened, so that they're not crippled. Right? I seen there was a video of a blind man skateboarding, and he's jumping off stairs and all that, but he's blind though, right? And then he has his little walker, and then he just feels for where the stairs are, and then he's going off the stairs. You fall 50 times. Yeah, you fall 50 times, but that 51st time, right? You got it. You know what I mean? And he felt good. He felt good a few times. Like he felt good. Like felt good. You know what I mean?
I remember it reminds me of a series I used to read as a child, right? Called Animals, right? And it's like Power Rangers, but with animals instead of them turning into all that.
Right.
And so they teach you about the animal they turn into, right? So they turn into a bat, and all their sight, their physical sight would go away, but their sense of hearing
is high.
So they do about 50 different. It was really cool.
Yeah. What's it called?
Animals. And
Animorphs.
Okay.
Animals.
So like if they had like espionage missions or like whatever, they would
transform to whatever animal to do the mission properly. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, YTV. Yeah, it was YTV. Yeah. It was YTV. Yeah.
There was a Moorish man, and he was skateboarding, and he was also blind. But what he would do is he'd make a clicking sound with his tongue, so that he would use echolocation, right?
Yeah.
And then he wouldn't bump into things because he just kept clicking, and hearing how far the sound would, how long it would take for the sound to
get back to it. Yeah.
people character Daredevil, right? He's a Marvel character.
Yeah.
Batman.
Daredevil too, yeah.
He's blind, right? But his other senses are heightened. So like with martial arts and all that, right? So like if he has like to fight like 50 guys or whatever, he just it's all his 4 other senses basically. I don't know. It's an interesting take on it.
Yeah.
Right. And to build on what you were saying earlier in terms of losing one sense and the others being magnified, I noticed that even just having to get grounded or to meditate, you're more often than not you're to close your eyes, so your sense of sight is off in a sense.
Right.
But then it heightens your other sense to be able to get grounded or to get into the flow.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to know that.
For example, you close your eyes, you hear more.
Yes.
Yeah.
So your eyes open. I'm seeing some look pictures, everybody, and I'm trying to listen.
Right.
But I'm seeing all these things. So you close your eye now, only listening.
So you can see the room, but not your eye.
Yeah.
Just like that. Doesn't make one.
And one of my teachers, he taught me to stop saying third eye. He said like first, because technically this eye in the center is technically our first eye.
Right.
The eye that's formed in the spiritual realm before we come into the physical body, right?
Yeah.
So our 2 physical eyes, right? Those are the lesser senses, right? And then we get trained to go by those senses. So it's like it's very, I don't know, it's interesting to me.
Yeah.
I'm sure,
Yeah.
this particular crowd knows all that, but like it's interesting.
Yeah. It's the body remaineth perfect after it is fled. Therefore, it is no part of it. It is immaterial. Therefore, it is eternal. It is free to act. Therefore, it is accountable for its actions. Metaphysical meaning of body. The outer expression of consciousness. The precipitation of the thinking part of man. God created the idea of the body of man as a self-perpetuating, self-renewing organism, which man reconstructs into his personal body. God creates the body idea or divine idea, and man, by his thinking, makes it manifest. As God created man in his image and likeness by the power of his word, so man, as God's image and likeness, projects his body by the same power. All thoughts and ideas embody themselves according to their character. Material thoughts make a material body. Spiritual thoughts make a spiritual body. Right? So going back again to consciousness before, and the body being the outer expression of the consciousness. So going back to who it is that we are as the being has to do with mind. Now we also throw in there with the whole idea of the outer expression. We also put in there the mindset of the mother when they're having the child, or when the child is being created in her. Where is her mind at? Depends on this being that's gonna come forth as well, because we know that woman is God, woman is creator, woman is Allah. So her thought being in the right place is gonna also make sure that this being, or this quote unquote outward expression of consciousness, is moving in the right direction. The precipitation of the thinking part of man, God created the idea of the body of man as a self-perpetuating, self-renewing organism. So when you go to, if you watch any stuff by Jewel Pookrum, and Jewel Pookrum making reference to the 7 circuits of the brain, and that man has an animal part of their brain that they can grow their limbs back, just like certain animals, reptiles, could do. because all these things that we see outside of ourselves is an inward manifestation of man. When they talk about a woman's child trapped under a car, she lifts the car and all that type of stuff or whatever. Superhuman strength and you know, things like that. People who they have certain tribes that they go fishing and they don't got no stuff on, and they're under there forever, underwater, with no stuff on.
I know that I used to do too.
Yeah.
I don't have tank.
Yeah, right.
It's so funny when I go deep and I corner a big fish between a rock. If I go certain way, it's gonna run away. I have to wait for him and I'm running out of breath. I have to just freeze myself and breathe and just bam.
Yeah.
When I shoot him, then I could come.
Right.
But there's a way you could just stay still, man, and you don't need them.
You could
It's
do it.
hard
Yeah.
to explain.
Yeah.
Just
But again, those things are things that are invoked. You know what I mean? Like you know, like we're saying, mother in the situation, child in danger. All of a sudden, she's Hulk or whatever. Just like that. You know.
There's an absence of fear at that time too.
Yeah. Once you tap in, certain things are eliminated. You know what I mean? Going back to the thing, if you're not thinking about drowning, you probably hold your breath forever.
No, I'm thinking about that fish.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about it, but that fish.
Right. And as well, going back to all thoughts and ideas embody themselves according to their character. Material thoughts make a material body. Spiritual thoughts make a spiritual body, which is in reference to the body remaineth perfect after it has fled. Therefore, it is no part of it. It is immaterial. Therefore, it is eternal. It is free to act.
That's the soul.
No, the body. We're reading chapter. Know thyself. Verse 7. The body remaineth perfect after it is fled. Therefore, it is no part of it. It is immaterial. Therefore, it is eternal. It is free to act. Therefore, it is accountable for its actions. And again, this is the outer expression of the consciousness. It's responsible, or it's supposed to be responsible. It's supposed to take account for whatever it is that it's doing, because it's really consciousness that created it. It's not the body isn't its own entity, right? The creation of the body doesn't come from the body, right? It's an entity separate. So when we talk about, for example, the avatar and the body being the thing that's being moved by what's within the body, right? What's within is really who the individual is. The I am isn't the external expression, right? That's just the last stage of the creative process. Right? Knoweth the ass the use of food because his teeth mow down the herbage? Or standeth the crocodile erect, although his backbone is as straight as thine? Allah formed thee as he formed these. After them, all were thou created. Superiority and command were given thee over all, and in his own breath did he communicate to thee the principle of knowledge. There's an article here about even though superiority and command were given to thee, you can't get caught up in the complex of superiority and the idea that we are greater than somebody, or because we have this knowledge that we are here and they are somewhere else, or whatever the case is, right? Superiority complex, identification to resolution. This is medium.com. Complexes, as you would know, are believed to influence an individual's attitude and behavior. There are two types of complexes: inferiority complex and superiority complex. The term superiority complex refers to a pattern of behaviors that profoundly express the belief of I am greater than everyone. Those exhibiting the superiority complex hold a self-image of great supremacy. They always feel that their opinion is far better than others and that they are much more superior than their peers. This complex itself makes them have an overly high opinion of their self, and they do not ever care if others think them to be so. A normal person may be striving to be superior due to his ambition to be successful, but as long as this striving does not lead to false valuations of the self, which are at the root of the superiority complex, it cannot be termed as a complex. An innate feeling of superiority exists naturally within the people with a superiority complex. They speak as if they are all-knowing, and they are imposing on whosoever they meet. They take up any task without dread or fear, but they fail to love people as they are full of complaints and criticism for everyone. They flare up if something tries to impose his ego onto them. People in general are scared of them. They are always wanting to do things they think worthwhile. Their sense of I am doing extends very far and wide. They are bold and aggressive, never submissive. They are prompt in decision making, and they don't take much suffering. If it works, fine. If it does not, that is also fine. Such is the superiority complex. However, it is very different from self-confidence. Right? So when we're going back to the whole thing with the opportunists, a majority of the opportunists have the superiority complex. Because they're telling you 5,000. They're so superior in their complex that you're gonna not be able to pay your mortgage because whatever reason, right? They have a way for you to get out of that. Now you just couldn't pay your mortgage, which is $1,400, $2,000, whatever the case is, but you're gonna give them $5,000 that you could have just put to the mortgage. If it's like that, then why didn't you just put the $5,000 to the mortgage, save the stuff, opposed to giving this superiority complex individual 5,000 with hopes that something is going to happen, right? I am something is a belief that signifies the ego of superiority. An increase of this ego is what gives rise to a superiority complex. Whereas he who has self-confidence is someone whose egoism has actually decreased. Lesser the egoism, greater the self-confidence. The feeling of confidence comes from factual valuation, but the feeling of superiority is a result from a bombastic ego representation. And egoism always causes damage. It causes interference. Until things happen favorably, people having a superiority complex are seen soaring high, right? So they're seen soaring high. They got their badges on and all that stuff. They got their, car and the lights on it, right? All the things that's playing out, right? They have, this wealth of knowledge that nobody else has, and you got to go through them to get whatever it is that you got to get, right? They're seen. It's not that they are soaring high or whatever. They're seen as that, right? There's an appearance that they are on their game when they're some of the most traumatized people on the planet, superiority complex people. They got more issues than the people who they're trying to save with their superiority complex. And they never turn that stuff on themselves to fix their own self. They're always looking at somebody else trying to fix them, right? When they're out to lunch. They believe they are better, cleverer, more important, and superior than the other side. They carry an air of superiority in whatever they do, and they flaunt their superiority wherever they go. But when things misfire, they are shattered as their ego gets broken to pieces. They can bear the loss of money. They can bear the loss of people or things, but they cannot bear a scratch to their ego. It brings them immense suffering. So what is the cause of this suffering? It is very important to understand. One does not have power to do anything in this world. Things just happen. Yet, what do we claim? I did it. This is the wrong vision and is indeed the very root cause of suffering. By believing I am greater than everyone, one enters into a competition with the world and starts racing with this wrong vision. While running for the number one position, everyone dies panting and the prize is awarded to only one. And say the prize winner happens to be you. How long will the prize remain with you? The one with the ego of having great skills and know-how will eventually only get exhausted in this worldly race, not gaining anything whatsoever out of it. Right? The one with the ego of having great skills and know-how will eventually only get exhausted in this worldly race, not gaining anything whatsoever out of it. Right? Gaining nothing. Just because they took the perspective of ego being them. They took we're not talking about caveat emptor and noble duality, talking about the more is on the high road and looking at the low road and the purveyors and whoever's that are on the low road causing issues. It's the ones on the low road thinking that they're on the high road is the issue. The ones on the low road thinking that they have the answers, when answers come from within. Answer is not coming some guy over here telling you 5,000. The answer comes from you doing your own due diligence and coming to a realization or a conclusion. But why did ego creep in the first place? Because of our ignorance of who am I and who is the doer in all of this. And how does one get rid of this ignorance? To get rid of the ignorance, you ought to pray that you meet the circumstance of meeting the living enlightened one. At the earliest, receiving the real knowledge from self. It graces you with the realization of who you really are and who is the real doer in this world. and thereafter, with the help of spiritual directives and blessings, you can slowly get rid of all your ego. But how does one resolve the superiority complex in specific? Say I am smaller than everyone. This too is a form of ego. But by harnessing such ego, one gradually becomes smaller and smaller until he becomes completely and genuinely humble in this worldly conduct. Thereafter, whatever you do will be done wonderfully. Right? So it's no different than the idea of acquiring knowledge. And then some people get more knowledge and they're the whatever. And some people get more knowledge and they don't know jack. The more they get, the more they realize they don't know anything. And the more they get, the more they realize they don't know anything. And no matter how much they acquire as far as knowledge, they always realize that they don't know anything. Right? Just like the superiority complex individual is constantly knowing. They constantly know. Oh yeah, I know that. I know this. I know that. I know that. Oh, how to do? Oh yeah, we gotta do that. I know how to do it. You're supposed to know nothing. If you're really about knowing.
Granchi, I have a question.
Go ahead, man.
Is the superiority complex thing a double-edged sword too? Because it's like the more versus black thing. I feel like the more thing should inspire a certain level of arrogance and be like, yeah, we did run the world. We are the creator. Like you walk around with a certain kind of energy, like versus we come from slavery and colonialism and all this, right? So, and even in the moral sense, like there are people who would be inspired to act more morally if they did feel they come from such greatness. I don't know. It just to me it just seems like. Cause it just seems like even me, like I'm from Ghana, right? I'm from the Ashanti, right? And unfortunately, the Ashanti, I found out that they have a certain history of the British that I'm not really proud of.
Right.
But at the same time, the Ashanti are also known as the most dominant tribe in Ghana. So I was like, there are certain things that I would never subject myself to just because I know I come from a certain pedigree, right? And I feel like the Moorish thing should also engender a certain level of like you are the real Aryans. You are like the same. They be like the one guy like you know how they say once your subconscious mind accepts something, it becomes true. Well, like stereotypes, right? Like when you create a certain caricature of a people, right? They're always slaves. They're always criminals. Always this, and the collective accepts that stuff because they're constantly seeing it. That inferiority program now programs a lot of those people who don't know better to act in a certain way, right? So I don't know, the superiority thing kind of, to me anyway, in my head, it kind of feels like it goes both ways. I'm like, what do you think about that?
Well, that's why they made the comparison to self-confidence and the superiority complex. So what you're talking about is the self-confidence. So what you're talking about is the realization that, we are the founders of civilization. Yeah, we could do the research. They got buildings standing right now that's 8,000 years old or whatever like that we built.
I'm like, take the Albion. Right? The Albion is clearly an inferior. Well, I don't want to use the word, but like none of the accomplishments for most of the world are actually his. But because people have accepted it because of stereotypes, movies, all this, there's a spell that's. Because like it's kind of like in the Matrix where he's fighting Neo and he's like, "Do you think it's your physical strength that makes a difference here?
Right.
It's the mind that makes a difference."
Right.
So if somebody has a complex of supremacy and a whole group has a complex of supremacy and they constantly put that out into the ethers, and then other groups accept it as true, has kind of like the Albion does. It creates the world we have today, right? I have a bunch of people who are walking around and they were Moors or they were so-called black, and they're walking around like, no, we started all this. We're superior to all you. We're better than you. We come from aliens and gods and Anunnaki and all this. That would also send out something to the ether. So I kind of feel like the superiority thing goes both ways.
Yeah. But again, the idea of the superiority complex and self-confidence is two different aspects. So when how you're talking about the superiority, that's actually self-confidence. That's knowing the truth about what it is and standing on that truth, opposed to the European not having anything and creating this facade that they did everything when they didn't do jack.
I have like back in like the days of Kemet and Samaria and all this, like one of the things that's kind of strange. Well, somebody said this. He said that Moors were too like they're not used to the levels of savagery that they were going to be subjected to if they allowed certain other races to cohabit amongst them. So I was thinking like if those ancient Moors had a superiority complex, like no, we're not letting you in. We run things like we've been 1,000 years older than you. You're lab mutants, whatever you are. If they had that spirit, we wouldn't be like people chose to cohabit. They chose to raise up certain groups of people. They chose to allow certain groups to intermarry, and that lack of that. Well, we're all equal. Like I don't think, me personally, in my life, I don't think there's equality really exists. Like I feel like just like women have a certain hierarchy over men, like Moors have a certain hierarchy racially over everybody else. And moral people have a certain hierarchy over everybody else. And God has a certain hierarchy over everybody. So I kind of feel like if we play the we're all equal, like that gets tricky very quickly because as somebody who took years to get over religion and the level of like being really nice and all this other stuff, like, and then coming into the more stuff from like the metaphysics vantage point and eventually working my like it just seems like this. If I don't know that just in my head, that's just how it seems. Like maybe like if more Moors were walking around and thinking that like we like you guys are beneath us. Like I feel like things would move a lot more quickly than them watching BET or rap or hip hop and thinking that we're niggas and like when even when I used to listen to rap, I started out listening to political rap because when I read the history of hip hop and all this, and I just saw the level of infiltration and the level of just crazy CIA type shit. I was just like, like these guys know you're superior. They know you're superior to them, and they have to create this whole department just to fuck it up. So to me, like I personally like anytime I pass by Albion, like I don't even. To me, they're beneath. They're like an inferior creature. I look at them that way, and they're surprised because they're not used to encountering Moors who literally think that they're superior to them. And that's the energy I got. Like I got jumped by my building manager who's in Albion. And now he's shook. He doesn't even look at me when I pass because like I'm thoughtful. Like I'm doing a bunch like bro. I just kind of feel like Moors need to walk around like the same thing Germans have going on with that Aryan shit. Moors need to get that energy going. Like if they have that same complex. I kind of feel like things would be. But that's how.
Well, and again, that's why I'm saying that it's because once you look at it as superior and inferior, then you're playing the same thing that they played. Whereas if you look at it as confidence, right? Not that we're superior, but that we're confident in the fact, or we're confident in the truth that A, B, C, D, and shut them down like that. Because once it's just like when we say with people have we have the raccoon issues here or whatever, right? And then people say, oh yeah, we're gonna control the raccoons. Well, you're not controlling them. Like you're not controlling them like that. They're gonna open the garbage and go in there, even if you put a lock on the garbage, right? Not because they're smarter than humans or whatever like that. You know what I mean? Not because they're superior to us or we're inferior to them, so they're gonna do that. They're in their animal nature, where they rule. It's not that they're superior. They're in their realm, they rule. No different than we jump in with the sharks, you're probably going to get eaten because in that realm they rule. So in the realm of existing on the planet, we know that we've been here the longest. So there's no way that they did certain things in history because they weren't even on the planet. It's not even inferior, superior. They weren't even in existence to have a say of pyramids metaphysical knowledge, certain higher thinking. Because we can even look at there's some modern Europeans who they're more tapped in than some Asiatics, who are supposed to be superior because they got melanin and they come from the ancient whatever like that. But there's certain people who I'll put a European before some of these Asiatics.
No,
You know what I mean? But they're supposed to be the inferior one. But so how is it that this inferior being knows more or is embracing truth more than the founder of truth?
Yeah.
Then there has to be something else that's going on.
but I kind
You know what I
of feel
mean?
like how much did it take? It took secret societies, the constant genocide, war, slavery, colonialism, media, all this stuff to get them to that point where they think they're superior.
Right, but remember that just like we're talking about the sharks and whatever, that's their realm. Because remember because we're sentient beings, we have there's a certain energy, right? And everybody knows that the indigenous people of the planet deal with love. That they share everything, whether it's amongst themselves or whether some stranger comes. It's not going to be any different. Even when we look at, for example, with ourselves, if we have barbecue, right? It's not just for Moors. Anybody might show up and say, "Give me a plate." Oh, well, nah, we can't because it's not in our nature to be like that. Whereas some Europeans having some stuff, you go over there, they're looking at you funny and they probably tell you, "Nah, this is," you know what I mean? Right?
Understood, Benji. But one of the I'm a big Star Trek fan, right?
Mm.
And in one of the episodes, there's a race called Klingons, right? And Klingons are known for being a very warlike race, right?
Mhm.
They encounter another race known as Vulcans, right? Vulcans are very logical, stoic kind of a race, right? When the two encounter each other, Vulcans are going by their standard protocols in terms of we have certain prime directives, we want to extend the olive branch and all this.
Right.
And Klingons are just on site, just from jump, they start firing on. Now, Vulcans are so shocked by this until they study Klingon history and realize, no, these guys see it as a sign of camaraderie and they value your stature in the universe when you also are very warlike. Mm. So when it comes to Moors and being kind and loving and all this, I understand that that's a frequency that's very high in the universe. But when you're dealing with other races of people who aren't really built like that, even in terms of their pedigree, then you can't. Following those protocols is almost suicide.
You cut you. So then that's a reflection of us.
Yeah.
Because remember, we created that.
As evil as they are, where did that evil come from?
There's one human race, different nation,
Different nations.
one human race, one family, extended.
That's so for example.
The human race.
Well, hold on, we're not
But
talking
we're not
about
sure.
we're not talking about the same race though, right?
Yeah.
Because the Albion is a mixture
Yeah.
of animal.
Yeah, but it's
So
still
called
human.
So
It's still human.
it's not human. It's not human. It's a hybrid. It's a hybrid. So the deal being that you're not dealing with a human, you're dealing with a humankind, which then puts you into a different realm.
Yeah, because you're trying to follow human protocols, God protocols.
You're trying to follow human protocols in an animal world. It's not going to work.
I'm not
I
gonna.
agree with that.
I get what if I'm submerged in water around a shark and I know that if this shark detects blood, I'm just gonna kill me and eat me, then I'm not gonna, my human morality and I'm gonna have to suppress that. I'm a very loving, kind person. One of the reasons why during my Moorish studies I gravitated towards, as far as the Indian type of stuff, Sikhism first, because out of every religion I studied up until Sikhs were the most kind people. It's they literally went out of their way to die in wars for other groups of people. Mm-hmm. Which is mind blowing to me because coming from Islam and all that, where it's just Muslims and then everybody else, to have groups that had historical, but I understand interacting with the world and not if I was a more conniving kind of evil, vindictive kind of person, because I've been around all kinds of people, I see how much further in this world I'd be. So it's unfortunate that that's how it is, but this weird matrix or whatever world we seem to live in.
Yeah.
Like if you look on the Kabbalistic tree, you have worlds where dimensions are upside down and time flows backwards, and righteous people lose and wicked people. We might live in a dimension like that. So, So when Moors are trying to be righteous, and we see that the natural hierarchy of this planet is on its head, then what are we really doing in terms of trying to progress? Like among Moors who've proven themselves to be righteous too, then yeah, be righteous. But it's like with the general population on this, like I feel like it's just like somebody was talking about, oh, Africa's 50 different countries and China's one country, and look how much further they're. And I'm just like, if you had a dictator in Africa, right? And I'm not saying that this is what I want or whatever, but if you had a dictator in Africa, like Idi Amin or whatever, who was like, look, I'm gonna force all of you to be in one country, fuck your tribes, fuck all that little skirmishes you got going on, and if you don't like it, we'll genocide you, and Africa literally a superpower, like, but he's an asshole, like that's evil, right? So it's like, huh?
What ruler is an asshole? You can't, as much as they want to portray that you're gonna do, you're gonna do this and that. There's gonna be some hurt with the good that you're gonna be doing.
Like you can't. I don't think what the type of good people have been accustomed to being told through religion. I don't think that kind of good gets even worse. Unfortunately, I'm not saying beyond some 48 laws of power, art of war type shit all the time, but it's like when you can just look at the world and see who has the most money, who has the most political power, and it's not the nice people, it's not the kind people, it's not the moral people, it's the most cutthroat, wicked, vindictive type of people. And unfortunately, like even in I'm not saying like obvious, like okay, among Moors who are righteous, yes, morality and all that take precedence, but I feel like once you step outside, or even sometimes unfortunately within the Moorish paradigm, where you have people selling paper, people doing all kinds of COINTELPRO, Freemasons, all that, like if you're really trying to live by those principles and you're not trying to violate them at any point, unfortunately this world doesn't. Cause I'm the epitome of that in my own life, and I see how far it's gotten me.
Yeah.
And like I've been around drug dealers, I've been around all kinds of shit. And I met a 24-year-old, 23 and making $100,000 a year to the point where RCMP had to fucking send helicopters after this guy from another province, and he's destroying people's lives with this. And I'm just like, yo, I'm over here trying to be all monk, yogi guy over here, and this dude is living like a legend over here, and he's the epitome of like the type of person they say you shouldn't be. So I'm just like,
Now, this is the question now. Now, would you rather the worldly life or the everlasting life?
In my understanding of metaphysics, I've heard if you don't master this lower plane, and part of that is mastering the frequency of abundance and prosperity and all that, you're not. Because I heard like when you're trying to ascend, part of that scale of myoping where they measure your heart against the feather is you having attachments to Earth. Now, if you grew up your entire life being poor, being sick, being lonely, being whatever, and then you're now a spirit, all that is still energetically in your etheric body, so it's gonna weigh you down when you're trying to just. Whereas versus a rich person who is like, I've done everything on Earth, I don't care anymore. Like literally, like I feel like they're not weighed down. So even though there is an aspect of it where you do need to master a certain sage-like frequency to ascend, I feel like the other polarity, like you need to master 360 degrees like yin and yang. You need to master both the light part, which is the 5 principles and all that, but the darkness too, you have to master that aspect as well. And then you create yin yang and you create Tao. And I don't know. Like,
right, but that's that. Just like you're saying, creating that balance.
Yeah.
So if for example, somebody out there who has all the finance in the world, and then they do yoga and meditation and whatever like that, that doesn't mean that they're balanced. That doesn't mean that they're on a solid footing, because they got people who have all this finance, and they lose their job and kill themselves. And they got people who eating out the garbage and they live forever. They got people who say that they're a bum and they're happy in their life. It might not seem like that to us because that's not our reality. You know what I mean? Right? Just like the individual who has all the finance isn't always the happiest.
Really, me personally, you genuinely believe that's the case? Like,
Yeah, I know people with finance.
I know people like that.
Yeah, I know people with finance.
Then you're done. People. You don't even wish to have their money.
I'm about to say, especially if they're born into it, it makes a difference. Because that's like people say, how can you be a rich person?
Yeah.
Teach humbleness to know your child or whatever.
Because me personally, I grew up in Christianity where they teach you, at least the version of Christianity I grew up in, they teach you pious poverty. They teach you that, like, if you suffer on earth, right, you get your rewards in heaven. And that's the version I was raised in.
We too. They tell us that too. We say that. James.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
go through that.
So I realized that, this thing was written by Freemasons, it was written by occultists, it was written by people who know that, and then they're basing it off of Moorish Kemetic stuff where these people have a bird and gold coffins, and because so they teach you the exact, like I was listening to this.
Yeah, but think about this too, right? Think about this too. In ancient times, you be walking, kicking gold be on the street like they got rocks out here right now.
Yeah.
So if they had gold like that back then, do you think gold meant something? Or was that just another metal that they're using, just like we're using plastic and we're using metal, we're using steel or whatever like that. They're using gold for everything because gold is in abundance. They don't have to go hunt it down, or it's not worth what somebody says it's worth. It's worth what they say it's worth. So when we go dig up somebody's tomb and they got everything gold in there, and then we're tripping out like, oh my gosh, look at all this gold or whatever like that. They weren't looking at it like that.
I'm not saying I follow your brother Polek, right?
Yeah.
He was giving one of his lectures on the definition of spirituality, and he said the original etymology of spirituality, according to the Vatican, meant owning property. And he literally showed a dictionary definition where they tell you the acquisition of material things. And
right, but that was according to?
This is a dictionary definition that Polite pulled up.
Yeah, but according to the Vatican though. Right. So right now Vatican has a vault, right? And what they got in the vault? Everything that they stole from every other culture on the planet. So of course they're gonna talk like that.
Yeah. The materialists.
Because that's their realm. Right?
Bobby said very clearly, this is the Lord's realm. There's shit and piss in you right now. What is so good about this?
Right.
You feel pain here. You don't know anything. You have to learn to ascend. You have to get knowledge to ascend. You weren't born with certain degrees of knowledge. You have to learn it for yourself here. You have to experience. That's how you get the wisdom.
Like it just seems to me like, okay, even when we say that, okay, our body, our physical body, I give you get into like Gnostic philosophy where they talk about our physical body being the creation of a false god, that's vampire god, wasn't all, and we're full of all kinds of like, okay, but you need fiat, you need money and resources to even cleanse out your body, so you're removing all those, like somebody who doesn't believe in any material possessions in this matrix. If they're trying to cleanse out their body, their temple, so they can activate their pineal and get their chakras in order and go to retreats and meditate and do all of that, this matrix is set it up so you need fiat for all that stuff. So that's why I brought up the example of the bum. The reason why that came to my mind was because a few weeks ago, no, maybe a little more than that. I think it was like maybe last week or something. We were talking about, I was giving an example of somebody who
was a bum when I was in high school, right? And then, and 20 years after high school, they were still a bum. So there was a bum in high school. When I was in high school, they were a bum. I'm adult now with a job and all that stuff, living on my own or whatever like that, and seeing that individual and they're still a bum, right?
Is this a more, or is it like an album?
It was an Albion, right?
If it wasn't more, I would have said he's from traumatized or something.
They were still that. No, but the same thing goes for them. You could be traumatized, couldn't find their way, couldn't figure out whatever. But the point being that how can what can we get from that? From that, no different than what could we get from grandma who lived to be 100 years old, but she ate pork. And then everybody's telling you about vegan diet and you gotta live healthy and all that stuff. Well, grandma ate pork and she lived to be 99. And you got vegans dying at 50. So when we look at where we're at, this realm, this existence, right? This existence, Juali said it perfect. Truth and falsehood strangely mixed. This place that we're living at, it can't be looked at as it's this way or it's this way. It's so many different ways, so many different levels that this is why you have, for example, how you're looking at it. That because there's so many different ways that it's going. You know what I mean? It's confusion. There's so many different ways that it's going. There's no one precise way. If we talk to a bum, they're gonna tell you, "Oh, life is the greatest ever," or whatever like that. I don't got no rent. I eat anytime. Garbages always got food in them. People always throw out food. Matter of fact, they're gonna go to back of Wendy's or whatever like that, and they'll eat forever because them people throwing out food, right? But then you talk to somebody who knows how to cook and whatever like that, they're not gonna go at the back of no Wendy's to go eat no burgers from that they're throwing out or whatever like that. They're not even going to the vegan spot, and the stuff that they're throwing out the vegan spot, they're not even gonna go eat that out the garbage, right? You know, but it's a paradox, it's a paradigm. That's why in the Torah, when they show all the serioths, right, and the bottom serioth is Malkuth, and they say that that's earth.
Yeah,
that's the lowest. That's the last spot. You know what I mean? So just like Brother Zahir was saying, that this is the realm of experience. This is the realm of learning. This is the realm of pain and hurt and anger and happiness at the same time, and enjoyment and beauty and ugliness at the same time, and sunny days and rainy days at the same time.
I have
You know?
Like when I was already getting into like Hindu and Vedic studies and not like one of the things that popped up is they believe that if somebody incarnates into a physical body on earth, they pretty on a spiritual level, that's the equivalent to like dropping out. Like they don't view a human existence favorably. They feel like that's just a mere fact that somebody's soul is encapsulated in a physical vessel and subject to time and space and aging and all that. Already they think like that's like going to jail like, on a spiritual level. So that's why you have so much crazy like that's why all the rules that normally apply in what you would consider like a sane normal dimension don't seem to apply on this planet where evil people prosper and all that. So one of the kind of conflicts that I kind of ran into is when I study like moral, like the morality thing. I kind of like if to go back to Moors amongst Moors who are righteous and all this. I kind of feel like yes, definitely. But in the world in general, and if Moors as a movement want to, I'm not saying because we all need to become more savage and cutthroat and just like wicked, but look at the altar like even the prophet was a righteous man. He lived by the five and his own who were unrighteous so I'm like yo like when do good people win? Like, and if good people aren't winning, then the Moors who eventually some dirty Moors.
The issue is that good people try to win here.
But are they
Good. It's not. This is not like again. The earth plane. Okay. When they talk about the war in heaven and all that stuff, right? Whatever scripture, right? And then where they send Satan to? Here, right? So this is his realm. So the stuff. So the realm of earth, the earth plane, is really Satan's playground. Because real man is spirit, not the flesh. Real man is actually the energy, not the physical, not the physical. So once the energy gets caught in this husk, and then it's going around in this world, it's about experience and learning. The husk that doesn't have soul in it or whatever like that, they're gonna have all the big houses and the mansions and the cars and all the money and all the things and all the women and all the sins of the world. They're gonna have those things in abundance. But the spiritual being, man who realizes that we are not the flesh, you're gonna get whatever it is that you're supposed to get when you leave this flesh.
So what's the incentive? I'm just saying in terms of Moors who are coming into, like, what's the incentive for them to? Because I'm not like even the dirty Moors, right? Like, I bet you some of them were probably good people, and they just kept on running into barriers where it was like trying to adhere by the 5 principles, like, and obviously like going so far as to
I don't understand what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying, right? Yeah.
No. You say the dirty Moors. I didn't understand that part of it.
I said that the Moors who became dirty Moors, right?
Yeah,
they were previously righteous, right? Like those types of men and women, like if I bet you prior to that, because nobody comes into the Moorish movement thinking that, as soon as I amass a certain amount of knowledge and skill and wisdom, I'm going to now weaponize it and try to capitalize. Like, I'm sure nobody comes into the movement, but through living life, through going through bullshit, through meeting other, like, eventually, and then going out into the world where none of the 5 principles seem to apply, and the seemingly most dominant group violates all of them with impunity. Like, what stops a regular Moor from becoming a dirty Moor if that's what they're up against and that's what they're constantly? That's the question.
Well, they've always been dirty.
You can't be understanding. The prophet said
Like a wolf, like when they say wolf in sheep clothing, like the term wolf in sheep clothing. Yeah.
That's pretty good. They're just looking. They came looking for opportunity.
They're already on the down cycle. Just for the fact that they're looking at they're looking at it from gain some worldly thing.
Like a guy going to force, not because he want to really serve and protect, because they could have gun to walk now. Nobody can stop me.
That's crazy.
I have a gun.
I saw
Get my gun to go home. I'm a police officer.
You know, it's crazy. Like, this is slightly like just because
I'm
you
already
brought
an
up
example.
Yeah.
Example. Assisting my
just to go to that, I saw a video of, like, I think he was an American sniper, right? Ex-Navy SEAL or whatever, and he said he joined the military just so he could, like, just like Call of Duty, except with real people. He just said he wanted to just, So, but once again, this is an Albion. Like, I'm sure there are Moors who are like that, but it takes hella trauma from most Moors, I feel, to get to a point where they're just soullessly wicked, like they don't give a. Whereas Albions can go there. I had a friend who was an Albion. I thought he was my friend, and this guy would just sit and talk to me, and I was like, this guy is a sociopath, if not a psychopath. He would just explain the mechanics of how he thought, how he could have a conversation with you, and it seemed so genuine and heartfelt. And in the back of his mind, he's playing an act. It's not real.
Yeah.
And then I realized, people like this are fucking like that. So if this is what you're up against, I don't know. Like, me personally, I don't know. Like, I feel like I grew up in Christianity. I grew up in the worst kind of Christianity in terms of MK Ultra, which is the Roman Church and all that. And like, I grew up having be kind and all that instilled into me and fucking pale Jesus up on the wall and all this, teaching you to be meek and humble while they're running all over the world, stealing shit and killing people, all this. And I'm like,
So all of that is fake. All of that what it teach you should embrace that.
Well, all these other races of people, when you interact with them, they respect the Albion. He has the most money, the most cars, all this. They'll look at you, who's the father, mother of civilization. Like you're the one who's like you're the one who doesn't do shit. And the criminal is the one who they want to marry into and all this.
Yeah, right. But the deal being that we're not doing shit.
Exactly.
So they look at you because you're not being who you're supposed to be.
You talk about us being the leaders here. We're not showing that.
No.
And what's happened is the European has been showing that, and that's why they're honoring.
Yeah, but he didn't do that through being moral. He did it by being the most cut.
We know that.
But he also did that by following. But he also did that by following what we did. He ain't doing anything that we didn't.
Didn't do first.
That's it.
I have a question though, because sometimes I heard that ancient Moors were also dirty, and that's why their descendants are being punished and all this. But I kind of feel like if you can see in advance that many years, and like the ancient Canaanites could predict things 5,000 years in advance and cosmological,
so what's the problem with that? Predicted the situation we're in right now.
So if that's the case, then why even if everything is going according to plan and there's certain yugas where certain people rule at age of Aquarius, Moors rule at age of Pisces, Albion, then are we just acting on a roll, right? Like what are we?
Well, we may be, but the problem is we still have to fulfill that thing, and we're not supposed to come back on top. And here we are, the Moorish Science Temple of America is here for us to start doing our shit. And we're in here and we're not doing shit. We're in here knowing that we're ruling shit. We now have the knowledge. Knowledge is king, and we're still acting like black guys. When really it's about us coming together.
That's why you say the Albino, they say about the Albino, we friends.
We have to come together. We were just talking about this earlier. We spent $8 or $9 grand to go to some place in New Brunswick. Yeah. We're looking to try and get some land here. Why don't we come together and get our 50 grand and go get some land? Because you want to sit around here and whine about how the Europeans took some stuff.
Yeah.
So I just see the problem for us.
We give it to them too. Whatever I said about actually we civilize them. We teach them in the first place. And we didn't keep the teaching to ourselves. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We teach them.
Everything they know.
We teach them, bro.
Everything they know.
You teaching them comes from a place of morality. Like, we gotta share our wisdom.
Oh, we lost that.
There's certain people you feel like if I'm a black belt.
No, I'm speaking truthfully. What choice do you have when you're watching them literally kill themselves with sickness?
Let them die off. Like
the
way I am right now,
I feel like sleep in a barn.
The way life, I feel like the way life is made me, I've gone to a point where outside of Moors and outside of maybe because I started out with the Sikh thing, like a lot of my friends come from that back. I really don't care about any of the rich people. Like if they were to die off, I'm not saying I'll laugh or whatever, but like I've gone to. Like I kind of think that I've become really, really, really cold, and that this world has contributed to that. And I started off being like, the morality guy and kumbaya, let's hold hands and do kundalini yoga and shit. And then I got to a point where I was like, this world is wicked as fuck, and good people don't win.
But I still see that you're running it with compassion because you're here. Because you could be able
but that's because
hold on. You could be out slinging dope and making money if you really wanted to.
You know what? I was thinking about that, and I realized something more. It's not really morality. Like if I see more as an extension of me. Like that. So that's not really. That's kind of like when you go into the jungle and you see all the chimpanzees or all the snakes. Like they don't look at it like I'm being moral with my snake brother or snake. They look at it like we're part of it. I see you as an extension of me. Absolutely. So if I see you suffering or whatever, that hurts me because I see you as an extension.
Absolutely.
So it has nothing to do with morality. It's basically self-preservation.
Absolutely. So what
chemicals in my brain.
Yeah. You taught them.
Yeah.
You see them as an extension of you.
Really?
You know, I think he was talking about us.
To add on to what Zaire is saying about how we taught them.
Yeah.
We taught them everything, right? So we taught them how to be their higher self and their lower self. So you make your hell your heaven, no? I'm speaking to you there, right? I was like you and I. Like you make your hell or heaven. So like the thoughts you're creating or you're projecting out, like, you know, we see it, like, you know, the illusion, we see it, we're here. So, I mean, you and I know I get where you're coming from more, but now you gotta think, you make your hell or your heaven, which one you creating?
Yeah, like on an individual level, you can definitely create your hell or
Now,
heaven.
move forward
Like,
thinking, keeping that in mind at all times, that you make your hell or your heaven. That's how I.
yeah, like no, definitely. Like on an individual level, I feel like you can definitely.
But you know, this is the lowest place that we're not even spirit man's not even supposed to be at, you know? Right? So now we have to think, am I thinking hell or am I thinking heaven? And then now you think, okay, well, I don't want to be thinking hell because we're already here. So now I'm going to be thinking heaven so I can move forward and ascend. And then I can go on where my spirit man goes because spirit man doesn't die anyways. And eventually the body is going to pass, right? And you're going to disintegrate, right? But spirit man, you don't die as a spirit man. Now you think, well, you know, you said your friend's making over 100,000. He's living some lifestyle that you think you should be living too because
You didn't say
we're
that.
well, no, you didn't say that like that. What I'm saying, like we
He
should be
wasn't
living
even
like.
saying that. He was trying to explain the fact that this guy living like that was making the so-called money, but he was really living in hell.
Yeah.
That's what he was really saying.
Right.
But the deal being that we're here, in a sense, trying to figure this out. If you're going to live like an aesthetic, then you're living out of garbage cans. But the reality behind it is that's not kind of how we attain our next set of levels. But in chasing that money, we're really going after Mammon or the devil, in a sense. But ultimately, you do want to have a bed to lie in. You need to. The prophet said that a beggar nation can never attain its highest level of spirituality. So the deal is that we have to have some of that money and that stuff. And that's, I think, what the brother was talking about as well.
To me, spirituality that doesn't generate material abundance is hollow. Like it's fake. Like it's kind of like that because I used to be hella Muslim and these guys are Muslim. I did the Muslim thing and the yogi thing. I basically almost identify as a Shaolin monk right now. So it's like I'm used to this whole if I'm spiritual, the material stuff is whatever. But now I'm realizing that look. You're not getting anywhere without material stuff. And sometimes that material stuff requires you to be less than like I'm not saying I'm not like obviously like I'm
hearing exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of
But I think what your issue is you are struggling right now from the perspective of trying to understand that the spirit, even though it is the highest level of finance, doesn't
equate to the physical reality.
To what when we look at the highest levels of spirituality, even look at the Vatican, right? They're supposed to be the highest level or the lowest level, yet they're sitting on top of mountains of gold.
Even when you look at like a lot of Freemasons and the rituals they choose to perform on the public and stuff like that, they'll do some sinister shit, and then because they know people are gullible, they'll try to do the opposite, and then in their mind, people are thinking, like, it's kind of when billionaires give to charity. And
Absolutely.
they're not doing that because they're good. They're doing that because they want to balance out the energy.
Absolutely.
And then you
Right.
think, oh, this is a virtue.
But then think about it like this.
Yeah.
If they have it like that and they're giving donations or whatever to balance out the energy, but they're not giving it out of the goodness of their heart. They're just giving it to balance. They're not balancing anything.
Yeah, but other people will look at that because people.
No, it's not. Well, regardless of how other people looking at it, the fact that they're doing it with that intent, right? Oh, I'm gonna give this. So it's just like we say with people who they donate, but they want a receipt so they can get it back in taxes. Yeah. What? So why do you give it in the first place? If you're gonna get it back, then you're not really giving it out of goodness or whatever. You know what I mean?
I get it, but at the same time, it's kind of like in the Vedic scriptures, they say we live in the world of Maya. This thing is an illusion. It's a mind. It's a projected mind, collective conscious. So if people perceive something a certain way, that's what it becomes. The objective reality or objective truth doesn't really exist in this particular dimension that we live in. That's why you can have evil people who seem to do good things when in their mind they don't really care about and then if Bill Gates right now was to say, oh, you know what, I'm gonna give $1 billion to so-called black,
he does it before.
in their head.
You give it to a a nigger college, university, $1 million.
Yo,
He give
I
it
bet
to
you,
them.
I bet you.
Wait, he give it to them.
I-
And they, wait,
Oh,
slow down a little bit. And they happily take it and think he's doing them good. Not really. Not knowing he's still having you dumbed down as a nigger. Dumbed down as a nigger.
Like a lot of these are professors over there and all that shit, and they're doing nice tenure and all that fancy and they're taking all this.
See what his financial riches and materialistic thing does? It's been dumbing us down to how we need it. We need it to survive. We need it fiat. We need it to survive. Can't go without it. Not in this realm. Not now.
It just seems like morality in the world in general, it complicates a lot of, because I'm not saying
You don't get a rocket scientist to see that.
no, I get it, but it's like when you watch like movies like Lester, I think it's Lester or Hannibal or whatever, where he's just like a blatant psychopath, and you just see the mechanics of how his mind works and how he navigates the world and how he just gets shit done, and you're like, damn, you're like, my morality is stopping me from that shit. Like literally.
He's not doing it.
God.
Okay, like literally, if a bunch of like if you have
No.
In the series, that's not a human.
That's not a human.
I'm gonna speak about that.
Okay, so
It's a creature.
but like at the end,
It's a being.
It's a being, like the agent in the Matrix.
It's a being.
It's a being. It's a thing.
And then if the world is basing, if people are basing how the world runs on these beings, which is what they've been doing, that's why it's an illusion, because it really should be them. Like we're saying earlier, like if when we look at prominence, and then people equate that to money, right? Having money, having whatever, right? But then nobody's talking about gold and silver being money. That's an illusion. It's not really what people perceive it as. What they're seeing is an illusion.
It's written on it too. It's a debt.
Yeah.
Legal tender debt, not money.
no, absolutely, no, everything is.
Not money. Continue what you're saying.
Yeah.
Money added to what you're
Yeah.
saying.
I feel like just like the movie The Matrix, just the mere fact that they're in a holographic reality, and like it doesn't change the fact that if they jump on, Morpheus was telling you, okay, you can jump from this building to the other building, and then Morpheus jumps off and falls on the ground, and he's telling you that, why am I bleeding? Why is this hurt? I thought this is an illusion. Well, Morpheus is like, well, it doesn't matter if it's an illusion. It still feels so. All of this is an illusion. It's based off fiat currency. It's based off of come up with some new.
And it wasn't like that anciently. It wasn't like that anciently.
Well, okay, so I feel
It
like
wasn't like that.
Right.
Like that for
Wasn't
maybe
like that.
200 years.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that.
Because that's another thing that we're looking at. What we're looking at as a reality hasn't been a reality that long.
You just see.
It's recent that it's been like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And us looking at the reality. Us looking at the reality that people are supposed to be good, and you know what I mean, it's supposed to be healthy relationships, and there's supposed to be a certain standard if we're saying that this is life. But we're not seeing that standard because we're looking at the illusion. If we would look at the reality, we would see that it's there. If we would look at the reality, we would see that, oh yeah, there is love. There is good people on the planet. There is balance. It's not really as chaotic as people say it is. When you really look at it if you look at it with sane eyes, if you look at it through insanity eyes, then stuff is insane out here. But we have to be looking at it with sane eyes, which is why, again, Drew Ali said, hey, Moors, live together, so that all you could see around you is righteousness and good. All you could see is the things that you want to see.
Like when when we go up there and we couldn't find a place, who did we see? A Moor.
Yeah.
Home sweet home.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We could Google sending us here and there, and you look, you see a Moor. Come,
Yeah.
I know who you're looking for. I take you there. Because we see the first. So figure we have a community like that now. Like where you have Chinatown.
Right? How you have Hindu town,
Yeah.
how you have Koreatown, how you have whatever nation says that they have their town. Yeah. Right? Why they do that for? So that they could be around their own stuff. So they don't have to be worrying about some BS that has nothing to do with them. If they want food, they're gonna go to their own boy to go get it. They want job, they're gonna go to their own boy to get it. They want wife, they're gonna go to their own people to get it. They're not going outside and mixing and mingling and doing the stuff like our people do, which is why our people suffer the way that they suffer. You know what I mean?
Well, I would counter that though by saying, well, you can still go to your own people and get the worst of it too. So I don't know if I completely agree with that.
No, but that's not your people though. That's not your people though.
No, the Moorish community we talk.
It is our people.
That's not your people.
No,
It is our people. They haven't been away.
These
These two people right here are our people. They just haven't realized that yet.
No, until they realize it, they ain't our people.
Exactly. Well,
I agree with that.
Until they realize it,
Hindustan is our people.
That's
they're our people.
That's what they want to be.
The Sri Lankan is darker than us, and it's our people.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about. That's not the point. That's not the point.
right?
Because it's a mental state.
Yes.
The universe is mental.
well,
If you want to be not
then let us be clear. And the European is our brother as well.
Yes.
Right.
Well, you
So we
should know that.
Because the European who's on that level is our brother as well.
European who's on that level.
Right.
Yeah, well, if they're on that level, regardless how they look, they're our family.
Then we can't qualify it by how they look. Right, which is what we were saying just before. That's why I stepped in. Come on now.
That's where the prophet said, no, like Rick Smith with that book, The Man, the More Than Mason and
Yeah.
Right? You see what I'm
That's
saying?
not hearing.
Yeah, he's on that level, giving us the truth. Yeah, sure.
He's not supposed to be up on our roster teaching us nothing though. Remember
No,
that.
but he's not on the rostrum.
He was on our roster, but it's not a deal like that. We've got, you know what I mean? Sometimes we can see what the prophet is saying, and sometimes we can't be following things to the letter, but we can be following the intent as best as possible, right?
Once the intent's pure, why not follow?
Absolutely. And the prophet said that there's gonna be people, Europeans that are gonna be helping us more than our own people, right? So what did that mean? Anyways, I think we sort of sometimes get down some rabbit holes, but I get where you're coming from, brother. But where I sense it is that we have to continue to come together as a people, and we have to start having some common goals and moving ahead. The problem is that we have been so far removed from that due to the indoctrination and sorcery that it's been hard for us. And then again, I was thinking I wanted to mention this to you. Everything that you've been qualifying this stuff by, a lot of it has been by current culture. You're talking about this movie and this TV and this and this and this. We have to get away from that. I have a problem too. I go home and turn on that idiot box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We got to turn off that stuff, and we got to get back to reading.
In going to
Right.
Go back to the thing.
And we have to come together as a community. That's the problem, and we're still missing it. But it's not your fault. It's all of our faults, right?
Yeah.
But any of those movies, any of that stuff, don't think that anything that you're turning on, anything that you're seeing out there that they're allowing you to see has a message pretty much that even if on the surface it seems it's giving you something, underneath it all, it's working their angle. So we really got to get away from anything that you see put on that. The books are closer to it, but even they have been peer reviewed and made sure to kind of. The deal is at least the deal with the books is if there's some good knowledge in there. What I found is that if you have a book and there's good knowledge in there, if you hold on to that book, that knowledge in that book doesn't change. You can go on the computer today and see some piece of knowledge. Tomorrow you'll go there, that piece of knowledge is gone there.
not there.
So that to me is what they had to do though, to try to control the information stream. Everything now you're going to get I was saying this to Cujo today, you're going to get a piece of knowledge. You turn it on some computer. Used to be you go to the library. Used to be you open up an index book. You open up a dictionary. Now you're Googling this and Googling that.
They tell you what they feel like telling you.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not even getting it when you Google it.
The search engine.
But that's where what I've seen now is we've now gotten to a point where this stuff has all come to that funnel now. Because at this point now you can put a piece of knowledge up there that can affect a guy in China, and that's an issue for them. So they got real problems. The same thing that they're using to control you is the same thing that you can do to open it up. That's what the Matrix was also about, right? The whole essence of Neo passing that energy on to the world, right? That was part of what that was about as well, right?
And
They're building a mountain of it right now, and everything right now is connected to it. Every part of our day-to-day life connected to it. And it takes a second to crash. That's it. You Google your way to Brampton, it crashes. No map. You don't even know the street sign you come down on. How are you gonna get back? You think about that. But in the future, if it gets to that, when everybody's so confined to this, can't do without this, and they need it. Because it's easy. This is not like send over one truckload of food this week, so we eat a little bit and save it. No, this is the truck stop in seconds. Every equipment, and that's with all. Because, like I said, you're talking to somebody, and you say something to them, you go on their phone and come back and try to talk as if they know. They just take something off the phone to come answer you, as if they know. They don't know shit. They don't know nothing. But the day when it collapses, then they will know how to find their home.
Yeah.
How they're going to find their home. If you didn't know without the Google how to go home, you don't have a problem.
Yeah.
You don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Just an example of, I'm trying to, yeah.
There's some reliance on this.
Yeah, so don't get too caught up into that, whatever thing there.
It's like we're not trying to rely on our minds anymore.
No, you're supposed to.
You
go to the store.
Use our mind. We want to use this thing to think for us. I was telling someone this the other day. I'm like, a lot of people don't know their north, south, east, and west.
It's true.
No, they don't.
It's true.
And this is what happened now. When it goes like that, your brain that's supposed to be doing all what this little thing in your hand doing.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Stop doing it.
You know when you stop, it's suicide now, Your brain is gonna commit suicide. You're not using me, F you, man. Go to Google.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Yeah.
You're not using me. Go to Google.
It's true. Like, just follow up on that. There's a yogi, a popular yogi from India. His name's Sadhguru, right? And he said that a lot of people ask him questions. They feel that he knows, like they ask him stuff about the occult and all that, and he's like, the more technology progresses, because occult is what humans used to be able to do naturally, right? And he's really referring to more than just say humans, right? And then he says that the more technology progresses, the more occult skills but clear, because even like when I was in high school and I had to do math, my aunt would always look at me strange when I would use a calculator.
Yeah.
And then she's like, you should be able to do that in your head. And I'm just like, this is a quadratic, and then she's like, you're supposed to be able to do all that in your head. And I was like, wow. And then I used to I found out that because I was big into memorization and all that, and I found out that back in some of the medieval scholars, the aristocrats, even when they went into libraries, they couldn't take books out, so they would memorize the entire book.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and to me, who's just trying to memorize one formula, that's fucking crazy. But apparently, people used to do that.
Yeah.
So that's right to your point. The more technology progresses, the more occult skills or mind skills or whatever.
Yeah.
The more you get dumbed down. Yeah.
You do something so much it's repetitive that it just
It's normal.
Yeah.
We've gotten out of that being normal. It's no different than we used to talk about how everybody knew everybody's phone number off the top.
Yeah.
10 numbers, 15 numbers sometimes.
I still remember my home number.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
There's some number now, I still remember.
Yeah, there's some that you still.
My mom, she's gone. That phone doesn't work too. And I remember that number, and it's a whole
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of
They
numbers
can't
are.
memorize even one.
Now they're on their
Scroll
own
down
number.
a screen.
No, people can't memorize their own phone number. Hold on.
Yeah,
Yep.
Sure.
on the phone now, you don't even have the number when you push, you see the name now. You don't even see the number to remind you.
Yeah, it's just the name. Yeah.
No, you see
Yeah.
a name.
Yeah.
It's gone. You don't even see the number reminder, 64788. No, you don't even see that. It's Tom, boom, Tom, gone.
Straight.
I don't-
There's
I
a
don't
lot
think-
more.
I don't think the Google thing is gonna get to a point where like they amass too much technological control or like Skynet and Terminator. I don't think it's gonna get to that. I think like if they could do that, they would have been already tried to get off everybody. So I feel like
It's that already.
See where it's at?
It's that already.
Are you aware of where it's at?
They
don't
have
need
so
to
that
do
you
that.
can turn
You know
your
why?
Tesla off. Look, they have so you can take your Tesla off the driveway, bring it back to the warehouse. You wake up, it's gone.
They don't even need to kill us. They can just control the mind. That's it.
Peace and love, Morris. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
guide,
And my salvation.
and my salvation.
By night. And by day. Through a holy prophet. Noble Ali. Islam. Islam. Peace. Islam, Morris. Peace. Yo. You're at where?
So when you say you're not